Hey, this is All Astrology. Today is January 9th, the day before the big eclipse, which happens at 20 degrees Cancer. This is going to be a reading for actually it's a free reading, and this is going to be for a Gemini Ascendant, Gemini Rising. So listen up, Geminis, and if you are not a Gemini Ascendant, Gemini Rising, find out, do you have a moon in Gemini? Or maybe your sun is in Gemini. If it's your moon that's in Gemini, this is going to be all about your inner emotional world, all right? Your sacred space, your emotional stability. If this is going to be a Gemini sun, you're going to listen to what's going to be happening. This has everything to do with your vitality. That is your sun. That is how you express. It is how you have fun. The sun is all about entertainment. It's about the heart opening up and shining out, sending beams of joy and creativity. It's also about romance. That is the sun. That is the fifth house. That is Leo. It is laughter. It is how we beam. This person in particular has a birth date of September 10th, 1967. And in a moment, I'm going to give out their birth time and location. I gotta wait just for a second till it comes up. It might actually take more than a second. But in the meantime, for Gemini ascendants, the eclipse, the 20 degree Cancer eclipse occurs in your second house. This is what I value, what I desire. Your emotions are there because that's where the eclipse happens. It's in Cancer. Cancer, again, is about home, is about family, is about mom, inner emotional world. Think about when you were a small child. The astrology chart, the houses literally talk about my day of birth. That's your ascendant, all right? That's your birth time. Your first house is where how you appear to the world. You popped out. That's how you appear to the world. We get to the second house, and this is our home. This is the area of where we learn what we value, what we desire. When we're very small, we need food, and all we want is to eat, to sleep, to have a clean pamper on us, right? The basic necessities. Then we move on to the third house, and we start talking and communicating. We get into that toddler stage or pre-toddler stage. We start moving around. We start developing thinking, right? We start understanding that just simply by sounds, we're communicating with people. Even if we don't have words formed, it doesn't matter. We learn at a young age, we can throw some crap across the room and we send a clear message. Somebody knows. There's a communication that happens. But then we get to the fourth house. The fourth house is where we start to develop our deep psychology of who we are. It's where we understand what we need in an emotional level, all right? This is where the whole thing about mom really starts to develop. Other than being in the womb, we start understanding, wow, mom's given me this. Mom has supplied that. Mom is the one who holds us, right? Mom's the one that is always there for us. There's something about mom's voice. It just calms us. It adds to our emotional security. So as adults now, for Gemini ascendants, or if you're a Gemini moon or a Gemini rising, what happens then is that because this Cancer, the sign of Cancer is in your second house, you value your inner emotional security. However, with this eclipse is all about bringing revelations because it is a lunar eclipse. Revelations is to what we need for our emotional security. Now, it is a south node eclipse, and without giving an astrology lesson, I'm sorry, it's a south node eclipse. South node represents what we're letting go. So it comes like there's some deep emotional stuff that we've carried, that we held onto, and it's likely stuff we really weren't aware of. It was unconscious. But what happens is we somehow held onto it. But now it's time to let this stuff go. And so this eclipse will bring that about. Will bring about, it could be fears. It just could be belief systems that were connected to somehow providing our emotional security. In a way, our emotional security is tied. We know that for people, I say we because I seriously am impressed by the energy of the chart while I'm reading it. So when I use your word we, just understand that. What happens? Cancer in the second house is what we value. We start developing this sense of my security, my inner emotional world is how, to us, that becomes a commodity. We truly value it in a way where I'm not gonna make a living knowing it's going to knock me out of balance in this way, because it'll mess up with my inner emotional world. And I know, because I value my emotional world so much, I won't go there and do that. right? Have you caught yourself, Gemini risings, making choices that way where you realize that's not worth that? That physical, tangible thing isn't worth that because it would mess with who I am. It would mess all this beautiful stuff up, your sacred space on the inside of you. It would just knock it out of whack, out of balance. And therefore, there are things you realized early on, it's not worth it because your emotional security is what you hold dear to. It is your sacred inner space. So having that there and having an eclipse there should be some sort of an illumination going on as to what it was. Maybe there was some old programming as far as the emotions, things you held onto emotionally that worked and that were relevant when you were younger. But now, not so much. It's not needed anymore. Like you're growing because that's what this is about, emotional growth. This is about grasping the idea that I did hold on to that. And now I realize I can step forward with that information. Like for me, I can give you a super quick example. Cancer's in my third house. There was actually an event when I was younger that occurred with a sibling. And it brought upon a horrible, horrible, deep pain. It was a sibling I was close to. I have a big family, but it was one of the siblings that I'm closest to in age. I'm number 8. This event happened to number 7. That event literally brought up all sorts of crap in me. But there were things that were so deep, that were so hard to process and to deal with, that I couldn't deal with them, that I didn't deal with them. And when we have that happen, we bury stuff. We bury it until we're ready to deal with it, until we can deal with it. So having something super powerfully happen, it makes sense that you kind of got to take it and put it on the back shelf, right? And be like, okay, I can't deal with that right now. I'm going to put that there. That way, when I'm ready to deal with it, I will. Well, typically what happens is in an event later in life, maybe it's a meeting, right? You meet somebody, you talk, you experience, something occurs, and something happens. And it brings, not that you did by choice. You didn't go to that shelf and grab that thing and bring it out. But this new experience did. It somehow pulls that past event up. Something that happened when you were younger, it pulls it up front and center in your mind and in your heart, and it destabilizes your emotional world. It is to then rock that boat again, and you're kind of faced to look at it again because you're dealing with this other recent event. And when this other stuff from the past comes up, because this isn't a South Node thing, the South Node represents a place where we're releasing. So somehow, right, you're older, you've experienced life a little bit more. This eclipse is about emotional growth. So now we're at a place where we're ready to look at it and to deal with it and then process it and let it go. And after you let it go, you grow. That is the whole point. For Gemini Ascendant, Gemini Risings, this has to do with what you value. So there's something connected to what you value that you are going to reevaluate that. And you're going to come out of this in 2020 having a different set of values connected to your emotional world, your emotional stability. This is all about trusting the process. Trust the process. Doesn't feel good all the time, right? When we're going through it. So we kind of got to tell ourselves, okay, this is uncomfortable. Trust the process. It's a needed thing. Just trust it. Because when you get to the end of it, when you get done with it, when you've gotten to the point where it's like, when you do that exhale, you're going to realize that you were able to get to a different spot. You're further along the road, right? You're at a different point on your path because of that experience and the ability to have processed and to have let it go. All right, so now let's get into the nitty-gritties of this chart. This is, like I said, Gemini, Ascendant, Gemini, whether you're a sun or a moon. I told you at the beginning how you can figure that out and how to listen, I should say better yet, how to listen to this information. There's kind of a lot involved with this reading. Let me give out the birth time. It is 11:11 p.m. I'm so bad with pronunciation. New Orleans, Louisiana. Okay, we've got Gemini Ascendant, Gemini Rising. You're having some beautiful success right now. You're in a mode of receiving. Has to do with positive things by way of health, by way of work, domestic pets. There's a benefit that's been here because we've got a mega stellium of stuff going on in Earth up there in Capricorn. And if you are a Gemini Ascendant, Gemini Rising, you've got Earth in your home. You've got Virgo in your 4th house. So having Virgo in your 4th house is Earth, right? Well, Earth trines Earth. Well, you've got like 7 things up there in Capricorn, which means it's sending beautiful, supportive beams down to your home. This is your physical home. This is your emotional home. It's both areas, but it will also affect, especially for this individual, it will affect professional life. A little word, let's talk a little bit about Capricorn for a second, about the professional life and the word career and how I want to be acknowledged in the world. The 10th house, Saturn is the ruler. We understand it means responsibility. People say it's our career, it's our job. It is where we understand we will stop at nothing to get to it. We have this idea ever since we were young, we will just keep climbing. Now, if you're a Gemini ascendant, Gemini rising, this is in your 8th house. So this would be the esoteric, the occult stuff, like your never-ending desire for that which is beyond, for that which is the unknown, okay? That which is in the hidden. It's funny because the hidden is below the surface. It's behind this curtain, right? It's Oz behind the curtain. There was that gigantic voice and you were like, there's something behind that damn curtain. Or I know it's not just a big voice and this big plume of smoke. I know there is a rational, practical, tangible explanation for this. And so you go and you find it, right? Because you have Capricorn in your 8th house. But with this stellium there, it takes on a very spiritual vibe, meaning you have the ability to connect to the other side. Don't be surprised if you have events that happen at home. It would be very easily for you to be at home and to be connecting in with source, to be connecting in with spirit, connecting in with dead loved ones and guides, with Native Americans. This would totally be normal right now. So don't be freaked out if that's happening. And if you haven't done that, this might be your kickoff point where you begin to start doing stuff like that. This is totally normal. Okay, if you're in an area or a location where you don't know how to connect with people who are like that or like-minded individuals and you don't know where to start, comment down below. I can get you started on the path. You've been getting some beautiful benefits at home specifically for this individual with that birth time and birth location because you have your sun in Virgo. You have your Pluto in Virgo. You have a lot of really nice stuff there. You've got your food there. So you might be a little bit particular by way of your food actually. Virgos typically, I find when it comes to food, they can be great chefs, and at the same time, they're kind of like a cat. They can be very finicky, very discerning, very critical if it's expressed in a poor way. But you do have Ceres there, so you might have issues with food. There's also some other health stuff we have to talk about. Hopefully, I will not forget that before the reading ends. If I do, I apologize. Just comment and ask me about it. I will make sure I try to talk about it. But there's other things I have to get to right now, is go back and talk about the beautiful things that are happening right now. You're going to have something kind of exciting occur. And it's coming. It might have actually already occurred because Pluto and Saturn are together at 22 degrees right now. And what happens is when they get together, you have a planet that's close to that degree as a trine, meaning it's going to receive benefit. Now, this is in the cusp of your 5th house. The 5th house is romance, is children, joy, creativity, entertainment, pets. 5th house isn't necessarily pets, but it's in your Virgo energy. Now, Virgo is ruled by Mercury. Okay, that's why Virgo has a tendency, they can think through, they have the ability to handle details, okay? They can be very, God, your home is probably unbelievably organized because you have so many planets here and it's in your home. The ability to organize, the ability to connect, the ability to take abstract things and bring them down to the tangible because you have an abstract planet. You have source that comes through that connects in with your Virgo energy, all right, which is extremely unique, extremely individualistic, very inventive, very creative, all right, super creative, but it's in that 5th house. So if it's not used by way of literally doing something artistic, it's going to be in by ways of your relationships, all right? And this is a big theme going on for you at this time, actually lifetime, because you have some other aspects in this house that lend to you finding significant one-on-one relationships fun and exciting. You love having communication and rapports going on. You like things being fair and balanced and beautiful, creative stuff, harmonious and peaceful. All this is connected with your idea of fun and beauty and romance. This is all part of that for you, right? If it hasn't happened already, there is something beautiful coming by way of a relationship. If you're already in a relationship, okay, if you're already in a relationship, all of a sudden, this spark that you have about things being spontaneous and exciting and new and unstable, now there is a stabling element coming through for you. It's stabilizing this unpredictable sensibility that you have. You have this, you can be very spontaneous and impulsive, but not so much to be impulsive out of being just crazy and erratic, but because you have a fun of love to experience something new, something exciting. Excitement is a big deal. This other thing that's coming through for you, this other being, this energy, this ray, it's going to stabilize that for you. And I would think it's going to stabilize it for you in a way, not where it's going to make it boring, but where it could actually take something that was more of, something that was unstable and stabilize it. That's the best way to put it. So if there was a relationship that was on, not that there's a relationship on rocky grounds so much, but more of you've just always been after the next best thing, the next new exciting thing, because you have this sign of the seeker, the never-ending explorer, the astronaut of new people, right? If planets were people, you're constantly seeking them out. You're in your rocket ship and you're constantly going and ascending. And once you've achieved one, it's like, okay, that was the one adventure, and the next one is the next adventure. Each one is its own adventure for you. Now, your moon is involved in this, so this brings you emotional satisfaction, all right? And this is a part of your emotional stability. This is a part of your emotional growth, each new experience. So there is this stabilizing factor that's setting in for you, and you have free will. So how you allow that to go is 100% up to you, but I want you to know that there's this essence, there's this strong frequency. If I commit and I settle down with this person, if you're already in a relationship, that is at this time. And again, if I didn't give out the date, it's the 9th of January. So 9th, 10th, 11th, 12th, 13th. If there is something that occurs, understand that this can be a lasting thing because this is all being aspected by Saturn. And when something begins in Saturn, it stays, it lasts. It's almost a reward because what you may realize is there can be just as many adventures, even in a relationship that you stay committed in, there can be just as many new adventures there. It doesn't have to take a new relationship for you to have a new experience. Are you ready and are you willing to have new experiences within the same relationship? Health. What I need to say is make sure you're getting your checkups. Don't miss your routine checkups, your appointments. I am stressing this because you likely already know about this. You were born in '67. You would probably already know about this. Having hidden health issues. What you may not know is there might be something with the heart involved, and not just our emotional heart, our sun heart, but our physical heart. And that's why I want you to make sure that you are just staying current with appointments. And I'm not making a statement. I'm not saying, hey, there's this thing coming. I'm not saying that. All I am aware of is a predisposition for something that could occur that would be hard for them to diagnose. It's somehow related to the heart, possibly the blood, possibly. Jupiter's involved, and so what Jupiter does is it's aspecting the planet Neptune, and what it's doing is Neptune's job is to make things hard to see. And so when Jupiter gets there, it tends to add more of the fog, more of the murkiness, and it makes it harder to find. That I'm not saying there's anything horrible or terminal. All I'm saying is there might be a condition because, there was some sort of a condition you were definitely born with. It has to do with the heart, okay? And it also has to do with first indication to me was the health. It's in the area of health. Then I followed that and it's in the area of your heart. So all you want to do is find out what it is. It could be something as simple as an irregular heartbeat, right? It could be arrhythmia. It could be something minuscule. It could be high blood pressure, right? It doesn't have to be something huge and horrible. But what I do know, Saturn in 2020 come March of 2020, Saturn will dip into the next sign. It'll get out of Capricorn for all of us, okay? But it takes 2.5 years to go through that sign, Aquarius. Why does this matter? Because if you're a Gemini ascendant, Gemini rising, Aquarius is in your 10th house. It's in your midheaven. For you, you have 19 degrees and 45 minutes. So let's say you have a 20-degree midheaven, all right? What's going to happen is a few years, like 2 years down the line, I don't have the exact date, but some years, no more than that, Saturn is going to be sitting there at your midheaven. Okay, and what happens is when Saturn does that, it's going to be aspecting other things in your chart, and it likely will put a limitation on you. Doesn't mean it's going to knock you down and drag you out, but there will be some limitations because that's what Saturn does. It gives us our limitations. It says here's a roadblock, ha ha ha, you got to figure out another way to make it through. And it doesn't usually just put up one. If you try to go a different route, it puts up another one. And that's what Saturn's job is. It's our teacher, in essence, okay? So just be aware of that. Just be aware and understand to stay on with all of the, whether you're on meds, don't mess around. Like, just be good and follow the doctor's rules. Now, with that said, I wanted to move on. We're jumping ahead in time. I'm going ahead to the June 5th, 2020, June 5th. Folks, there are 6 eclipses in 2020. When June comes, we're going to have an eclipse on June 5th. Then we're going to have an eclipse on June 21st and another eclipse July 5th. Yes, that's right. 3 eclipses in that super short amount of time. There are tons of big changes, lots of endings and lots of beginnings for the year of 2020. That is the theme of 2020, the year of endings and beginnings. When the endings come, take them. They are meant to occur. Know that the ending is coming because there is a beginning. There is a door opening somewhere else, right? It's like Julie Andrews says, I know that when, what did she say in that movie? When the Lord closes a door somewhere, he opens a window. Or when the Lord, you get the drift, right? Got to let go of the old to receive the new. But the new is coming. That's the whole point. So for you specifically, okay, this degree of this eclipse coming up on June 5th is going to be at 16 degrees in Sagittarius, all right? For anyone listening, go and look at your chart, see if you have anything there. You have your moon at 16 degrees Sagittarius, okay? So emotional security, all right? My emotional world, emotional growth, all right? At this time, this is going to be all about a revelation. You're going to have new information. You're going to have an understanding about something. It's in your one-on-one relationships, okay? And I'm really thinking it may be connected to what I already told you because it's in Sagittarius. And Sagittarius is this constant seeker looking for the next big adventure. It's the astronaut of life, okay? But yours is the astronaut of significant relation. You are the astronaut in significant relationships, always seeking them out. So it is a lunar south node, okay? So what that means is it's about endings. Something has to end. I know I kind of already said that by the door closes and then a window opens, but something must end. You're really going to be at a point where you're ready for it to end though, because you've learned something, all right? It's the whole idea of now that I learned what I learned, I see the bigger picture because that's what Sag does. Sag goes so high, it gets a greater perspective. It sees, right, the forest, and it understands. It now has a different idea of what each little tree meant, right? Each little relationship, what all of them meant, and you gather you gather knowledge from all of them. But at that point, you're now ready to let go of something. Now, whether that means you're ready to let go of a belief about one-on-one relationships, whether that means you're ready to let go of an actual relationship you're in, that is up to you, my friend. You have free will. The energy is endings after the realization of what you've learned. So you see the theme and how it connects to something I already told you by way of relationships. But the whole theme at that time in June 5th, for that eclipse, is to trust the ending because there is a beautiful new beginning. Trust that when the clouds and the rain and the storms are there, right, they're washing away what we no longer need in our life. And you'll see the bigger picture And you know the sun is going to rise the next day. A new beginning is on the horizon. I am going to end this here, and I hope this helped Gemini ascendants. Bye.